Shalom. First and foremost, slide. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, mighty of all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kadash, and the Heavenly Father, which you name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in ancient Hebrew, Hebrew, the Lashon Gospel of the tongue. And I say Rakathon to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a set down lesson of the prophecy updates as of July the 2nd, 2026, on this Thursday afternoon. And, because you had that heavy heat wave that was taking place over there in Europe, it was like a couple of days ago. Because these past, this past month, month and a half or so. Hello.
Hello?
Send like a spam call. Yeah, because back to what I was saying, because what was that like? It's been like a month and a half now. Ever since summer rolled around, we've been having some heavy heat waves been taking place up there in Europe, and it was like a total of like 1,000 people were unalive during those heavy heat waves. And I think they said an additional 1,000, so it was like a 2,000 in total due to this heavy heat waves that was taking place over there in Europe. Scorching heat. Now you had now you got this news article. I think they said it's a video was circulating over there in France. Because they had like due to the heavy heat wave that was taking place over there in France, you had these people was fighting over the last air conditioner. And they were trying to get like an air conditioner or something like that at a discount place. It says French clash over air conditioners as another heat wave looms. Right, so another major heat wave is going to loom over there in France. After that recent heat wave that unalived like 1,000 people, it says videos. People calling like crazy. It says a video circulating online shows a crowd storming stores and shoppings, wrestling over discount air conditioners. So they wrestling over air conditioners at a huge discount price. It says the chaotic scene has unfolded at a supermarket around France, and shoppers fight over discount of air conditioners of another heat wave. It says hundreds of people descended on the Lindy supermarket in and around Paris on Thursday after a retailers put around 200,000 discount air conditioners and fans on sales nationwide. It says with few air conditioners available elsewhere, less than $1,400 shoppers rush to buy basic models and price, prompting a police intervention and after scuffles of shouting matches broken out. Here you had, I think you had a French Edomite lady, and he might be a Cushite. They was like they was playing tug of war, playing like tug of war, trying to get the last air conditioner for the discount price. And then you had there was an Ishmaelite, so-called Arab. He just walked past. He just shrugged it off like, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this. He left out the store. Yeah, if you're trying to get an air conditioner at a discount price, at least they could have gotten it ahead of time rather than waiting late at the minute if they was gonna know it was gonna be a heat wave. It says video shows crowds storming stores, wrestling over air conditioners and tripping shelves with the menace as demand quickly outstripped the supplies. So it's sold out like crazy with these air conditioners. Some customers reportedly lined up before dawn, but still left empty-handed. Wow, there's more than 100 people gathered outside of the outlet, damaging the entrance. It says similar scenes reported as other parts of Paris region. Some media users complained that some stores only receive a handful of air conditioners despite the attracting hundreds of customers. Once claimed that the Ladia outlet in Paris, and the 14 astargements received just 2 units, despite drawing more than 400 people. Yeah, so they was clashing, clashing over the last yes, clashing over uh, to bring up that Luke 21 verse 25. I mean, I know it's not funny. I know it's not funny, but at the same time, they was just, they was just clashing over the last heat air conditioner. It's the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, "There shall be signs in the sun, in the moon, and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, for perplexity and siege rage war, brightness we see." And this is the book of Psalms 18 and verse 7. Right, so the Heavenly Father visited this earth with these heavy heat waves, and then it unalived like 2,000 people over there in France and different parts over there in Europe. These extraordinary heat waves. It says Psalms 18 verse 7. Then the earth shook and trembled, and the foundations also of the hills was moved with shaking because of the rough. Right, so that's the great shaking of the Heavenly Father visiting the earth. Of course, with these earthquakes, they definitely with these heavy heat waves. This is Isaiah chapter 29. Yeah, this book of Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 6. It says, "Thou shalt be visited of Yahweh of hosts with thunder and earthquake and great noise and storms and tempests and flame by fire." Right, with these heavy heat waves, these heavy wildfires, these volcano eruptions, these tornadoes, earthquakes, landslides, floodings, famines, pest plagues, etc. So that's the visitation from the Heavenly Father, Yahweh himself, especially with these heavy heat waves. We are in the days of summer, what you call the dog days, what you call the dog days of summer. Yeah, so we're definitely going to get this heat wave throughout the whole world. Psalm, Isaiah chapter 28, verse 2, it says, "Yahweh has a mighty and extraordinary one, which is a tempest of hail and a short storm, as a flood of mighty waters shall cast down the earth with their hand." Right, so that the Father will cast that earth with their hand. And that's what he's doing, visiting this earth with these historical weather-like conditions. This is Second Ezra, chapter 9, and verse 2. It says, "Then thou shalt understand it is a very same time wherein the highest, which the Heavenly Father will begin to visit the world which he made." And that's what we're seeing, the Heavenly Father visit this earth now, something which he made. Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 3. It says, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, uproars, people war, right? So more increasing uproars and people war, these increasing earthquakes." And that's what we're seeing. And this is Second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 5. It says, "Behold, saith Yahweh, that I will rain the plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, destruction." And that's what the Heavenly Father's bringing that plague. With that plague, which is that heavy weather-like conditions with these over the heat waves at alarming rate. That's why it caused the lives of like 1,000 people over there in France due to the heavy heat waves. That's the visitation from Yahweh Shemashai, which is from the Heavenly Father, Yahweh quotes. So that's what the Heavenly Father is bringing upon the earth of him visiting this earth, because he's a righteous man. That's what power, like it says in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 14. So he's going to visit this earth now, so more than ever. So I'm going to leave it at that. Get to some more news articles. Switch up the topic. And then you had another news article. I think this happened like the second time already. You had another drone strike that hit a Belarus tour bus. This time it was a tour bus. I think like 2 weeks later. Hello.
Hi.
Uh, yeah, just like back to what I was saying, you had I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where you had like I think like a school bus. You had full of Belarusian kids and a woman. I think they're supposed to go on like a field trip, like a sporting event. Inside of Moscow, you had the Belarusian children right along with the teacher inside a tour bus heading to a convention place. And then a Ukrainian drone had launched at the bus. Now you had a similar situation that had to this 2 weeks later. And then you had Zelensky send some warnings towards the president of Belarus. Because you had the president of Belarus was calling out Zelensky and his armies was involved was involved with these recent strikes on these on this school bus, now a tour bus, with Belarus's people on it. So even Zelensky been sending warnings to the president of Belarus. So that lets you know tensions been heating up between the European Union and NATO and its allies versus Belarus and Russia. So it's starting to heat back up once again. So I just want to add a sad note to that. And this is a news article from RT.com. It says it was published July the 2nd, 2026. It reads, it says Ukrainian drone strike Belarus's tour bus. It says 2 drivers and 1 passenger were injured near the border crossing in Russia's Bryansk region, officials have said. It says 3 people have been injured after a Ukrainian drone struck a tour bus traveling from Belarus to Russia, the Black Sea coast. Officials say the both countries said on Thursday. It says the bus carrying like 19 passengers from the Belarusian capital Minsk to the resort city of Enpala is what hit near the Kratsy Kamin border, crossing the Russia's Bryansk region. The acting Russia's region governor said that the Ukrainian groups used a aircraft type drone in what it described as a target strike on civilians. The 2 Belarusian drivers suffered sharp wounds, while the Belarusian health ministries later reported that 1 passenger also been injured. An emergency news crew was dispatched onto the scene and later reported that 1 passenger also been injured. The emergency crews were dispatched to the scene. It says passengers were evacuated in a temporary accommodation center where they received hot meals and physiological, psychological support. It says Belarus Center assisted Belarusians citizens were later transported to the Golan region, while 6 Russian nationals remain at the facility in the Russia's region. So I'm bring up that Matthew 24th chapter. So I won't be surprised the president of Belarus called out Zelensky once again after that drone strike incident 2 weeks ago. Now you got another similar incident 2 weeks later by these Ukrainian drones targeting a Belarusian bus. So this might spark up escalation between Ukraine and Belarus. This is Matthew 24 and verse 6. It says, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." Right, we hear wars and rumors of wars. Russia versus Ukraine, Belarus and Russia together versus the European Union and NATO. While you got the Russia-Ukraine going on as well too. And these are Edomite nations going against one another. It says, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but it is not yet. Right, so it's going to come to pass, but not yet yet." And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 7. "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom," which goes into Ephesus. It says, "There shall be famines and pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places." I think outside of California had like a 3.8 earthquake. It was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And then you had that 6.0 earthquake in Japan. And then the day before yesterday, you had a 6.0 earthquake over there in Mexico. So we started to see Yahushua spoke about these signs 2,000 years ago, and it's being shown forth these times. So we see the earthquakes in diverse places, and we see the famines and pestilence, and we see the wars and wars right along with them. So as it says again, a Ukrainian drone strikes a Belarusian tour bus. This is the book of Ezekiel, the 30th chapter. So once again, tensions might heat back up between Belarus and Ukraine, right along with the Russian-Ukraine situation still taking place. because Belarus and Russia, they allies of the whole militancy they have with NATO and Ukraine in the European Union. This is Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. It says, "I will turn thee back and put his God jaws, and I will bring thee forth from all the army. Horsemen, all of them, cloth, all sorts of armor, even a great company of bucks and shields, all of them swords." Right, so that lets you know that's an indicator that the Heavenly Father is going to continue putting the hooks and back in these jaws of the Russians, which represents the Bears in the 38th chapter. And this is the book of Ezekiel, Luke 21. Matter of fact, Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 8. And this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 8. And it reads, it says, "In times of love, and in time of HATE, and in time of war, and in time of peace." And so we still live in a time of HATE, and we still live in a time of war. And these are war, evil, and investments that we see in Jeremiah 28, verse 8, that's still showing forth. So we still live in a time of WAR, and we still live in a time of HATE, which that's only going to continue to increase. And that's what we see. So I'm going to start at verse 1. Go up a couple of verses, start from the beginning. This is Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 1. It says, "To everything there is a season and a time of every purpose in the heaven." Right? So we're in these modern day times and seasons in every purpose in heaven, which is modern day biblical science and science times too. Go down to verse 7. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 7. "And in time to reign, and in time to sow, and in time to be silent, and in time to speak." Right, so we're in the time of speaking of biblical science and prophecies are increasing on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to go down back to verse 8. It's so nice to say it twice. Shout out to that brother, my God. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 8. It says, "In time to love, and in time of HATE, and in time of war, and time of peace." Right, so we still live in a time of war, and we still live in a time of HATE. So that's something that continues to increase. So I'm going to check out some more news articles. It says Germany now treating the Nord Stream attack as a war crime, the media reports. Right, which that happened a few years back about that price screen incident. It says Germany rejects Trump demand for loyalty. Hey, that's the division between these Edomite nations, especially the United States led bloc of NATO. So the tension's been heated up, especially these past couple of months between the United States and NATO. And it goes into that Revelations 17 verse 16. It says a Ukrainian drone strikes. Ukrainian drone exploded in Turkey. As you know, Turkey is part of NATO. But it says in the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Turkey is going to turn away from NATO. It's going to join without Russia. That's what that goes into that Ezekiel 38th chapter. But it's going to add a side into it. Right, check out some more news articles. Go to the Jerusalem Post. All right, check out some more news articles. Check out the news. It says Iran increases attack on Kurdish oppositions following days of clashes. Right, so that lets you know that's an indicator. Clashes are still heating up between the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps versus the Kurdistan armies over there in Syria. So that's what those reasons rights over there. It says Abrasky threatens. It says Abrasky threatens the small high school if U.S. unsuccessfully goes against pets in Kentucky. Yes, that's what you call wars. It says Iran's past show regimes need to develop a nuclear weapon to have a chance to survive, experts say. It says U.S. won't accept pragmatic Iran leadership without real change. tells a computer host interview. It says spreading Kurdish militants attack precious Iran as it navigates a fragile diplomacy analyst reports. The clashes appear to have taken place in several towns in the city in western Iran Kurdish regions. Yeah, wars amongst wars. It says this is from July the 1st, though. It says U.S. threats to withhold interpreters after clashes with Saudi over Hamas exports reports. According to the Wall Street Journal, it says Saudi Arabia refused to allow the United States to use its base and its airspace for the missions and retaliations. The White House threatens to withhold its separatist systems. And clashes among the nations. It says Iran's threat, Taiwan historical, and the latest moves. Oh, that's something else. It says Trump wait a return to all-out war with Iran, but holds back to save nuclear disarmament deal. I mean, Iran, they not really fully agreed to the disarmament deal, and they still, even though the talks been successful, so because I think as of yesterday, they had agreed to have some more talks because they had like a separate talks over there in Qatar a couple days ago because they had wrapped up the meetings like a couple of days ago or a day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But that's still not going to stop Iran fully controlling the spread of news, even though they signed an MOU deal to, in the process of stages to fully end the war. But even though the talks are been, there's been progress, so a little progress once again, like it previously did. So that's still not going to stop the tension between Iran and Israel. Hezbollah versus Israel tensions are still going to be there, even though they pushing forth peace deals with the Lebanon-Israel situation, and then Iran, the United States situation as well too. So the tensions are still going to be there. I just want to add sad into it. So bring up that Joel. Yeah, this is the book of Joel, chapter 3. And verse 9. Because you're still going to have those proxy wars still over there in Western Asia. It says, proclaim this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw in and come up. Right, so let all the men of war draw in and come up over there in Western Asia. That's still going to continue to take place. All these armies of nations still going to battle against one another, especially proxy groups or against the Israel Defense Force. It says, Joel 3, verse 10, beat your plowshares and swords into pointing hooks into spears, and let the weak become strong. Right, so let the weak become strong. These are armies of nations, especially the proxy groups and the pro-Iranian groups. They still going to rise against the Israel Defense Force. So tensions are still going to be there. Right. Check out some more news articles. Check out the Arab News. There's some more prophecy of news. It says a bomb blast in Damascus, California, unalive 6 4 assassin. Right, so that's an indicator that you're still going to have tensions are still heating up over there in Damascus. That's the future prophecy of Isaiah 17, verse 1. So it's heating back up over there, and it's heating back up over there in Syria once again, like it never left. It says 454 Palestinian children were unalive in West Bank and not isolated incidents. It says. It says Iran warns U.S. and Israel against attacks ahead of a frequent processions of Kamala. It says, this is from July the 2nd. That lets you know, despite the fact they had progress in talks between Iran and the United States over the Qatar, the separate talks, which wrapped up yesterday. I just want to add sad and say once again, it says Iran warns oil tankers to use approved routes and its refugees or face a forcible response, which they previously did. Because you had the top negotiator of Iran was saying that we still manage the Strait of Hormuz and they were still under fully control it. So it doesn't matter what the outcome be between the United States and Iran their talks, even though they've been having some progress of it. But that lets you know as an indicator you still have to still let the Strait of Hormuz, even though they're trying to push forth a positive note, trying to have the deals and to fully end the tension between Iran and Israel, between Iran and the United States. But Iran made it clear they still going to take over the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to fully manage it. And it says Iran warns oil tankers to use approval routes because they've been rerouting. Because I think the United States ordered them to do like reroutes so they could provide them with the sail passage. And then Iran is saying, which is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which they controlling the routes over there and managing it at the same time. So if they don't follow the procedures of the approved routes that's managed by Iran, they're saying they're gonna if they don't pay a toll, that's believed they're gonna force a response, which potentially missile strikes or drone strikes. So that's an indicator that the Strait of Hormuz tensions are still going to be there, even though they have some success of progress with this deal. Let's see. This is the book of Luke 21. Right, so these are more the signs to come. It's the book of Luke 21, verse 10. It says, then say ye unto them, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So you're still going to see nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. So the battle will spread for loose, despite the fact they've been having progressive talks in recent days, in recent couple weeks, as recently, but the tensions are still going to be there between Iran and Israel and the Hezbollah versus the defense force. So tensions are still going to be there, you know. Right. So with that, this was just a prophecy updates as of July the 2nd, 2026, on this Thursday afternoon. So with that, hopefully this was edifying. With that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem. In the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, those are the true names in ancient Paleo-Hebrew, the lost gospel tongue. And I say Rakathon to the elders and apostles, Rakhan and Rakhan. Until next time, I would say Kwame Asherallah and above all, in Shalom.